Cool. Okay. Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is a young singer-songwriter from Pasadena, California. Writing music from a place of emotion, she translates her own stories into relatable lyrics that narrate the experiences that we all know. Welcome, Ella.
So happy to be here. This is
Why don't
awesome.
why don't we kind of kick it off by just kind of diving into where your music journey kind of all began?
Yeah, so both of my parents are musicians, and I'm an only child. So when I was in first grade, my dad was on tour like nonstop the whole year with an artist named Christopher Cross. He has songs like Sailing and Ride Like the Wind. He was a big artist in the 80s. And so he would be like in Europe, in like Spain and France and Italy. And me being that young, my mom didn't want me to be like away from my dad for that long. It'd be like months at a time. So my mom would take me out of school for like 3 weeks at a time every few months. And we would go on tour with my dad for 3 weeks. And how I would make up the school was that because I was only first grade, like I would have to make little travel journals where I'd have to like print out pictures and like write what I did each day. And that's how I made up the work in school. So, yeah, that's how I kind of got into music in like from a young age. It's just like watching my dad play drums for people and traveling and stuff. So, yeah, I got really inspired by all of that.
So then when did it kind of turn from I'm seeing my parents do this to like where did you kind of start like playing music, writing music, all that stuff?
Well, I actually got into like musical theater for a while, and for a long time, I was like, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to be on Broadway." That was like elementary school, like fifth and sixth grade, and then in middle school, I joined the rock band class. We had like a rock band elective class, and we were singing all these like rock covers. And I just thought it was so much fun to sing songs that had more of an edge because, musical theater is very like on the more proper side, I guess. And I was like, oh, I can just have fun with these kinds of songs. Um, and then I started just going home and through like piano lessons and stuff, I would like sit down at the keys and kind of mully my way through it. And I just kind of started writing songs from having experiences with like friendship problems or liking a dude in middle school, and the way that I like got through it, you know what I mean, but was by like writing music. And so songwriting kind of happened in a weird kind of like accidental way of just like, well, my mom is a songwriter too. And so I would go to her gigs as well and watch her perform. And but I guess what I'm trying to say is songwriting happened in an accidental way, in the sense of like I was doing this rock band class and then come home and be like, oh, I want to write in class. So that's kind of how it happened, I guess.
So, things kind of developed in that like rock band class you were taking. Like when was it a shift from I'm doing this, like I'm writing these things. It's like when did it kind of click that like this is what you wanted to do, like for real, like be an artist? When was that kind of commitment made?
That was in high school. I went to an arts high school, California School of the Arts. Easy for me to say. Um, and when I was applying there, I knew I was into more of commercial music, but they didn't have a program yet because the year that I went there was the first year that the school ever opened. And so they had a musical theater program though, and the musical theater program had a lot of songwriting classes, vocal technique, music theory. And I was like, okay, well, I could apply that to music. And in high school, I started writing more and meeting new people. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to book a gig and play my songs and just see how it goes. And then I booked my first gig. And then after having that moment of just like playing live, I was like, okay, I have to do this for the rest of my life. And I think it was specifically having like a matinee, like being in the school musical, having a matinee during the day, and then playing a gig at night, and the comparison of how I felt. Like I felt way happier playing gigs with my band than I did like acting in the school musical. And so I think that's it. Like having those two things happen in one day kind of made it like click for me.
That's where you kind of shifted from, oh, musical theater is like where my interest is at, to being like, I can do this with a band behind me, like singing my own stuff.
Yeah.
Um, do you think there's any influence from the like your musical theater background into like the stuff that you write?
I think I'm like musical theater focuses a lot on lyrics and like
Mhm.
having an impact with the lyrics, and I think it's influenced me in the sense of I focus so much on lyrics and like am I saying the right thing, am I conveying the right message? So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
What do you think inspires your writing like most of the time? Like where do you kind of pull that inspiration from for different songs?
Well, the main thing is just like living every day. Like I love to joke that like the main part of songwriting is just living. The more experiences you have, the more kind of crazy your life is, like the better the songs are going to be. It's just kind of a fact, you know? Um, but as far as like artists go, I'm a huge Beatles fan. Like I love Paul McCartney and I love his lyric writing and his melodic choices. I'm also a huge Carole King fan, Joni Mitchell. I love Paul Simon. So a lot of like the 60s and 70s singer-songwriters.
Do you have any that are like more modern that you would be like, I like writing like their stuff?
Phoebe Bridgers. I love Phoebe Bridgers' lyrics and all of her. I love it. Yeah.
She's a popular one these days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there a release that you're a song that you've put out that you think kind of best embodies like you as an artist? Like if you had the chance to just show somebody one song to kind of convince them to be like a fan of yours, what song would that be?
Ooh. I just released a new single called Sinatra, and I'm really proud of it. And I think I would show that to people um, because just I don't know, the lyrics are, I put a lot of thought and work into the lyrics, and I love the concept of the song. It discusses like falling in love with someone because they like a specific artist. So the story is like I was driving through the suburbs a year ago, last summer, with this one guy, and we would just like roll down the windows and play music and just go on a drive. And I put on a Sinatra song, and he knew all the lyrics to this old Frank Sinatra song. And I thought that in that moment, I was like, I'm in love with this man. Just based off of him singing along to Frank Sinatra, I was just like, oh my God, that's so cool. So, um, and I think that concept of like, that's something that people don't really talk about is like, you can fall for someone just because like they they love something that reminds you of your childhood, or or something that I don't know that makes you know what I mean. And so I think I would show that song to people because I feel like they could relate to it. And also I like the production on the song. My good friend Henry Wiedemer produced it, and it has like strings and acoustic guitar, and there's some background vocals so like people can sing along in the car if they want to. So yeah, I'd probably say Sinatra.
Do you think that that's an accurate depiction of like your sound, like sonically, like production wise, or do you think it's like a little bit different than like some of the other stuff you've put out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I like we go for more of like an acoustic vibe. I put like organ and accordion on a lot of my songs, which I think makes them like like I'm trying to like have my own thing, you know? And so I think that kind of like trademarks it is like putting that organ and the accordion. And so um, Sinatra has accordion. My other single, You Can Do Better, has organ. So, and all of them have acoustic guitar. So I try to have elements that stay the same so that they sound similar.
How would you describe your music for somebody who's never heard it?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. I would say like pure honesty, um, with a, a hint of nostalgia.
And then like how would you describe it like sonically beyond just kind of like the instruments that you touched on?
Oh, um, I would say like melodies that are easy to sing along to, like acoustic indie pop vibes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We love a good acoustic around here.
Yeah.
What is it that kind of motivates you to keep writing music, keep putting it out, just kind of keep pursuing the whole artist thing?
I love it. And I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. Like it just sets my soul on fire, which sounds a little cheesy, but it's just how it is, you know? Like I know this business is hard and I know that it's so competitive and there's so many people out there trying to do the same thing. And I could very easily go, oh, well, this is too messy. This is going to be too much work. But then I'm settling for a different job that won't make me as happy. And I just, at the end of the day, my goal in life is just to be happy, you know, at the best of my ability and be genuine in that happiness. And I love, I'm just a huge nerd too. And I just love music. Like, I feel the most like myself when I'm writing and gigging. That's, that's it. I feel the most like Ella when I'm writing and gigging and playing with other people or listening to music or seeing live shows, like anything like that. I'm like, okay, this is me. So that's what motivates me.
I like that. The most like yourself. I like the way that you put that. Um, if you could open for any artist, who would it be?
Um, ooh, okay. I love this artist named Adam Melker. And he has this one song that was pretty big called Real Estate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like on the smaller side, like he's still opening for people right now. So I feel like that would be like a good like realistic choice like to open for Adam because his songs are very similar to mine. Like we put like kind of weird chord changes or major minor chord changes and I take a lot of inspiration from him. So I would love to open for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with some of his stuff. I could see that. That could, and
Yeah.
he's on his rise. So like now is your time.
Yeah, yeah.
um, how do you find balance between like just regular life things and like pursuing all the artist stuff as much of a balance as there can be?
Yeah, I truly believe that there's no such thing as balance. I think it's just, I think time is time and then you choose where you want to put it. I think it's impossible to have like equal weight in one thing or the other. Um, but the great thing about going to a music school like Los Angeles College of Music is that my schoolwork is forwarding my career. Like, I have a lyric writing class where we have to write a song with these certain lyrics. Okay, let's say I write a song from that class. Oh, I'm going to play that at my next live show, or that's going to make the album. Or I have a music business class, and it's like, write your goals, and you have to make this goal by the end of the quarter. And then that goal helps me with my career. So I think just like going to a music school really, really helps.
Do you ever find that like obviously like you said like the stuff you're doing for school is a big part of like it's feeding into the music that you're doing outside of it, but do you ever find where it's like I've put all of this time like creative energy into what I'm doing for school that there's no like essentially energy left over to do like the artist stuff?
I will say burnout is real. Burnout is so real. And it's frustrating. The way that I have dealt with like, oh, I'm putting all this energy into school, or I'm putting not enough energy into school, and I'm putting too much energy into outside of school, um, is I lock myself in one of the grand piano rooms downstairs, and I just take a breath, and I start playing other people's songs that I love. Like my go-to is Still Crazy After All These Years by Paul Simon. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, like this is like I know I said there's no such thing as balance, but like the balance is like way tilted and this is all going crazy. I'll just like breathe and I'll just play and just getting back to the basics of just playing piano, even sometimes not even singing. I think um I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that I don't even know what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. But you were sorry. Repeat it one more time.
Do you
I'm
think
gonna
that
edit
like
this.
the amount of creative energy you're putting into school ever takes away from the creative energy you have to put towards like the artist stuff?
Okay, can I re-answer
Yes.
this? I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. Um, yes, I think it can. Because if you're constantly writing for a grade, it doesn't feel like you're writing for you anymore. It's like, oh, well, I'm just writing because I need to like keep a scholarship or I need to do this or I need to meet these certain requirements. And it can take away from the creative process because then it's like you don't feel like you're writing for you. You feel like you're writing for the system. And so I think it's important to take time for just you sitting in front of a piano and just being like, this is just my time for me. I'm not going to write for a class. I'm just going to just write. So, yes.
So the big takeaway is to not just do it for the system.
Yes, don't do it just,
Don't
yeah.
do it for the system.
Yeah.
um, what is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Ooh, honestly, I think it's because I'm not afraid to like be very blatantly honest and also along with that, I kind of will put my flaws on blast in my songs. Like I have a song where I say like I'm selfish, I'm selfish and I'm sad, or I have another song where I'm talking about like falling for the F boy and how I keep going back to this one person because I can't help it. And I think that sets me apart because I think sometimes people get in their heads of like, oh, we have to be perfect. And as the songwriter, we have to be the protagonist in all of our songs because people want to feel good. But at the end of the day, people want to feel like they belong and want to feel like they have someone to relate to. But if all your songs are talking about how great you are or how you're always the victim and how everyone else is screwing you over, that's not real life, you know? And in my songs, sometimes I'm the villain. You know, I make mistakes. Sometimes I screw someone over. And I think writing about them, being like, yeah, I messed up, and here is why. I think that's what sets me apart because I'm not afraid to say I mess up. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. You do. I don't think we realize it, but there is a lot of stuff out there that is very, this happened to me. It's not, I did this. It's
Yep.
all like,
Yep.
this happened, this sucks. It's not
Yep.
like, I mean, sometimes there is the, like, I fucked up and the result stinks, but it
Mhm.
still is like you even see that like occasionally like in like visual media like in movies and stuff, but it still kind of comes back to you feel bad for like the person enduring that when it's like, I don't know, Ella, do you want people to hate you because of your songs? Do you want people to see you as the villain?
No, I not at all. Like I I think there's no such thing. I think the villain is something that has been like stereotyped in movies. I think as people we're just like a porcelain teacup with a little chip on the side of it. And I think in my songs, I don't want to ignore that the chip is there. I want to be like, yeah, it's there, but we're all human.
That's a I think a very clear way to put it. It's like you
Yeah.
can't be the teacup without the chip in it. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
That's not how life works. Um, yeah, that is a very solid metaphor right there.
My
I've never
therapist gave
really
it to me. My therapist gave it to me.
I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot that could come out of that too, which is just crazy. What kind of impact do you want to have like with your music and with your artistry? Like what kind of impression do you want to leave on people?
Oh my gosh. Again, adding on to that of like, um, you don't need to be perfect. And just because you're the main character in the story doesn't mean you're going to be the protagonist, in quotes, 24/7. And if you, I want to leave that impression with my music of just like, be messy and be that splattered paint, and it's okay to need people, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be flawed. And I think that's the message I want to send with my music.
I think the where you keep bringing it back to the protagonist, like villain kind of trope, if you will, it's interesting because it's like you have to kind of think about it. Like I saw something the other day where it's like we're technically all the main characters of our own stories, because there's that whole like I'm the main character, I'm the side character kind of thing. um you will be the protagonist in your own story. That's how it will pretty much always be. You will never be like your own villain. Like that's just, unless the movie's taking place just
Yeah.
purely up here, you're never gonna
Yeah.
be the villain.
Yeah.
But you will also be like the hero role in some people's stories, but you will also be the villain in others. You can't be this perfect role always. You have to play the villain in somebody's life. Nobody's that good of a person. Like there are great people out there that will still find themselves in situations where they turn into the villain role. And that's
Mhm.
fine. That is life. Not everybody will like you, and that's okay. But
Exactly.
yeah, it's interesting because it's a lot of these things are like universal experiences of the stories that like are told in songwriting, but it's like everybody reads them a different way. Everybody's going to take your fuckboy song one way or the other and think, and some people might listen to it and think, okay, maybe like you're 100% like the good guy. Maybe they'll be like team fuckboy. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Who exactly?
They have the right to be team fuckboy if they want, but as long
Let me
as they
make
have
sure.
something to take away.
Keep fuckboy shirts.
Exactly. Um, yeah. So that kind of just brings us, we could go off of that tangent for a while, but that kind of brings us to actually the last question, which is the big question, which is why music? You kind of have touched on this a little bit indirectly so far, but like just kind of wrap it up for us and just why music?
Oh my gosh. Why music? um, like I said before, I'm gonna get all psychological again. That's what it's, right? Yeah.
Sure.
It is that at the end of the day, as human beings, we're trying to feel, we want to feel a sense of belonging. And that's like one of like the Maslow's hierarchy
Hmm.
of needs is like self-esteem and belonging. And um I feel like when I'm around musicians, or when I'm at shows, or when I'm even listening to a song, even if I'm alone in my car listening to a song, I still feel like less lonely, because I feel like there's someone coming out of my radio telling me exactly how I'm feeling, but putting it into the words that I needed to hear. Um, Music makes me feel the most like me. And I feel like when I'm not doing it, um, that's when I feel really lost and depressed. And I just feel like, I don't know, there's something so like sweet about being able to write your story and dress it up in like metaphors and similes, and um, uh, putting on a hat of like a C major seven, or putting on a sock of a F sharp minor diminished, or whatever. Like, I think I love music because it's a medley of like vulnerability and lyrics, and then just like the natural serotonin you get from hearing certain melodic and musical things. if that makes sense. I
I
hope
think I
so.
think it does.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean the kind of as I've been doing this, the kind of common theme is I can't see myself doing anything else,
Yeah.
which means you're in the right place. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing what is going to make you happy at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's the goal in life. You
Mm-hmm.
know, can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, I think that concludes this week's episode of the Why Music podcast. Check back again next week for a new conversation with a new independent artist. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.